Welcome back to another episode number 4, Brooklyn Finest Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Earl A. Conway. The holiday season is upon us. It's here. We got Christmas coming up, and New Year's is right around the corner. I want to talk to you guys on this episode about New Year's resolutions. Welcome to Brooklyn's Finest Entrepreneurs, a podcast for future business owners and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Earl A. Conway, where we discuss the details, trials, tribulations, mindset, and the journey it takes so you being your own boss.
For your dead friends, hey, look, I got dead presidents, hey, blue honey, 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 blue honey.
So the new year is approaching us, and like every new year, we'll start to make our New Year's resolution. Every year we go through this pattern of planning to be, just a little bit better off than we was the previous year. There's been some studies that says at least 45% of us make New Year's resolution, right? So we make our list of the things we want to change or the things that we want to be blessed with for the new year. We go through this, right? I think we've been going into New Year the wrong way, though, especially when it pertains to our resolutions. Like, I think we've been going about it the wrong way. Here's why I feel this way. Because our resolutions haven't been working. Like, how many of us has started January 1st, set that resolution, right? And before you know it, like a month in, 2 months in, nothing, like we done forgot about the resolution. We can't keep up with it. We done forgot it. We don't want to think about it anymore. We just want to leave it behind now, and we just keep on pushing, right? Until the end of the year where we could try again, right? So why is it that our resolutions don't come true? Like, why aren't we able to stick to it? Research has shown that less than 20% of New Year's resolutions are kept. Less than 20%. So it's a whole lot of us not keeping our New Year's resolution. Y'all know we've all been there before. Some of us are still there. We make our resolutions and fail year after year after year. But why is that? Has anybody really sat down and thought about, like, even if you just reflecting, or you get to like June, July, and I know, the world and life just be tugging and pulling and pushing us that we don't really be having time. But any of you guys ever had some time to just look back and say to yourself, like, yo, I did make a resolution that I was going to do this and I was going to do that, or I wanted to change this or change that, or bring this into my life or leave that behind and pick this up. And it's July and I'm just out here just having fun, and like I done forgot about that. Like, why is that? Like, I really need to like revisit that, because it doesn't make sense for me to be making these New Year's resolutions year after year after year and nothing is happening. Maybe we're looking at this whole New Year's resolution thing through the wrong lenses. Something have to be wrong. The ancient Babylonians are said to be the first people to make New Year's resolutions. That was over 4,000 years ago. Because when I think about it, I have broken a lot of resolutions too. Some of them I kept, I do my thing, but then there's times where I fail terribly, right? And I like to try to figure out, why am I failing? Like, is it something I could tweak? So I like to like go to the origin of things and try to figure out who done it, right? If it can be done, and how I could implement whatever they implemented to make it happen for them, right? So here's a little history lesson, right? The ancient Babylonians are said to be like the first people to make New Year's resolutions, right? That was over 4,000 years ago. They also was the first set of people to have this celebration of the new year. But for them, though, the year started in mid-March. So it's like, yo, where the hell we get January from? So for them, it started in mid-March. It started in mid-March because that's when they planted their crops. It was like a whole 12-day religious festival celebration. It was big. What they also did within these 12 days, that they also either crowned a new king or reaffirmed their loyalty to whoever the king was or whoever the reigning king was at that time. They also, this is big. When I found this out, I was like, oh, oh, it was like a aha moment, right? They also made promises to God to pay their debts and return any objects they had borrowed that year. When I think about where we are now, I'm thinking more along the lines like, oh, that's why us as a society now, one of the most popular resolutions is to pay off our debt. But it wasn't until I uncovered this, I was like, oh, that's where that came from. Now, if the Babylonians kept their word to their gods, right, because that's who they was making these resolutions to, if they kept their words to their gods will bestow favor on them for the upcoming year. Now, if they didn't, they would damn near fall out of God's grace and favor. And trust me, at that time, nobody wanted that. Even now, like nobody wants to be on the sideline of God's favor. But back then, it was really, really serious. It was really, really serious. You know, a similar practice like this happened in ancient Rome. But here's the thing. Caesar messed with the calendar and made January 1st the beginning of the year. So that's how we got the January 1st thing. The word January came from the name Janus. Now, Janus was a god so significant to the Romans. So what they did on January 1st was offer sacrifices and make promises of good conduct for the coming year. Now, keep in mind now, these two times, when it comes down to resolutions now, they both involve God in it. I want y'all to keep that in mind, because this shit was blowing my mind too, right? Even for the early Christians, they adapted the first day of the year, you know, as a tradition and as an occasion for thinking about, you know, one's past mistakes of that past year and promising to do better for the new year, right? There was this clergyman by the name of John Wesley, right? Way in the 1970s. He created the Covenant Renewal Service. Another name for it was, I think they used to call it the Watch Night Service. That's why you see many African-American churches do this on New Year's Eve. Now, I've attended many of these services, so that's still being practiced today. So you see, you know, we're talking about over 4,000 years, you know, and still, even though the traditions or little things has been tweaked, the root of what the resolutions is supposed to be about kind of runs parallel in all of these different times and religion. Now today, you look at it today, it's been tweaked. You know, it's been tweaked into, I think, more of a selfish kind of thing. You know, because today New Year's resolutions are mostly just rooted in like secular practices. You know what I'm saying? Like you see, unlike the Romans and early Christians, we don't make promises and resolutions to God on January 1st. We make resolutions only for the benefit of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like selfish right there. Like we purely just focus on self-development and our wants. You know, I think, you know, which explains why it's probably so hard for us not only to keep our New Year's resolutions, but to see them through. Because it's rooted in selfishness, right? Like we're not doing something or setting these goals or having these resolutions for something bigger than us or something outside of us. We're doing it for us. Now, I'm going to suggest this for this upcoming year, that we make some real changes for the benefit of us. I think that the approach is just totally wrong. The approach been wrong. That's why if you look at the results are terrible. So something has to change. And I don't think it has to be like any big monumental shift or change. I think that the only thing we might need to do is just tweak things a little bit, right? So I'm going to suggest, first of all, that we start looking at our New Year's resolutions through the lenses of how the Romans and the early religions did it, right? I think that would give us an edge, you know, or the way that they looked at it back then gave them reasons, gave them power, right? They were able, trust me, they had some real reasons to keep their resolutions because they didn't want to fall out of grace of God, right? They didn't want to lose God's favor. That's big. You mean to tell me if I set a resolution to lose weight and if I didn't keep my resolution, I was going to fall out of favor of God? What? Nah, we gonna keep that. We definitely gonna have to keep that. You know? I mean, like, whatever your resolution is this year, like, do it for God, right? Something bigger than yourself. Let's try to put him in the equation and see what happens. I mean, it won't hurt to try. It definitely wouldn't hurt to try. I want this year to be the year that we make our resolutions a reality. And I'm not saying that all resolutions are like we fail at all of them, but like the majority of us that start all hard and strong, and when it comes down to getting close to that finish line or even in the middle of it, we really don't get there. You know, just think for a second why you have not been able to keep your New Year's resolutions to yourself. Like, you're making it to yourself. Now I'm thinking, if I'm making it to myself, like, I'm important to myself, right? So why am I not keeping this promise to myself? I mean, what stopped me halfway through? I mean, was it harder than I thought it was going to be? Did you set unrealistic resolution goals? I mean, a lot of us do that, right? You know, were they too big? Did you get sidetracked or even distracted, right? Or was it that your reasons only involved you? Maybe the reason why I fell short of my resolutions was because it only involved me. Whatever the reason, we need a better approach and a better game plan for 2021. We know that starting is not the problem. Being motivated is not the problem, because the fact of just setting a New Year's resolution alone motivates all of us. You know, we can't wait to leave 2020 behind. We excited about, you know, what 2021 has in store for us, and we excited, we charged up. So it's not because of lack of motivation, right? It's not the lack of us being able to start. You know, we know our resolutions are all possible, or else we wouldn't even have them on our list. We know they're possible. So I know your resolutions are realistic goals that could be achieved. So going back now to the Romans now these Romans, listen, you can learn a lot from history, man. You know, I think I'm falling in love with history, because history tells us so much about today. It puts things into perspective. I mean, at least in my mind, right? The Romans' New Year's resolutions were simple. And like I said, it was rooted in pleasing and being in the good graces of God. I have an idea. Maybe we should just simplify our New Year's resolutions. Instead of a long, drawn-out list of things that we want to do, just pick one thing. One. And with that one thing, just be consistent with that. It doesn't have to be any grand old take over the world type goal or resolution. It could be simple, but keep it consistent. Maybe your New Year's resolution for 2021 could be waking up just a half an hour earlier. We could do that. We could be consistent with that, right? Or doing 20 push-ups every morning or every other morning. It don't even have to be every morning. Just do it every other morning, right? Maybe reading a chapter out of a book a week. You got the whole week to read that chapter, right? Maybe it could be paying yourself first and saving, $20. Putting $20 out of each check or any money that come into your hands. $20 away a week. Small, simple, but just have to be consistent with it. Maybe we can start going to the gym. A lot of us that's one of the biggest New Year's resolutions, right? To get into the gym. Okay, we want to go to the gym. We want to lose weight. We want to be healthy. We want to be fit. So New Year's is the perfect time for us to start. Okay, we start. We're motivated. We get the membership. We start to go, and then by March, we done fell off. Maybe we're putting too much pressure on ourselves, right? Maybe we're not keeping it simple enough. Maybe it's not rooted in doing or going to the gym for something bigger than yourself, right? So maybe we don't go 5 days a week. Maybe we just commit to going 2 days a week. But those 2 days a week that we go, we're doing it for something bigger than ourselves. Perhaps it's just like telling your spouse or your girl, you know what I'm saying, that you love them, or telling your husband or your man that you love them twice a day. Simple. That's your New Year's resolution. You know what that does? That shows you that you can keep a promise to yourself. That shows you that you are not lying to yourself. That shows you that you're capable accomplishing New Year's resolutions. So when the next year come and the year after that, you know what you did the year prior to keep your promise to yourself. You knew that instead of going about it the way that you've been going about it for all the other years and failing, you realize now that you added a purpose to it, a purpose that was much bigger than you. So whatever it is, keep it simple and consistent. I've learned consistency is such, like people always be, yo, you just got to be consistent, yo, just be consistent. Yeah, a lot of people say it, but a lot of people don't really know what it is to be consistent. And like, you don't even have to like go to the gym 5 days a week. But if you went to the gym 2 days a week consistently for the whole year, it's a win. I guarantee you would be healthier. I guarantee you would lose weight. I guarantee you would be in the best shape, maybe not the best shape of your life, but you would be in better shape than you was the year before. And most importantly, it has to be rooted in something bigger than yourself. You know, I suggest to be in the grace and favor of God. Another reason why it's so challenging to keep our New Year's resolution is we don't stick with it long enough to actually see it come true. That falls right in line with keeping it consistent. You know, if your goal this year is to lose weight, like I said, just be consistent. You know, whatever method you plan to use to achieve your weight loss, just make it simple, but make it consistent. If your goal is to make more money this year, just be consistent. Again, whatever method you to get into the bag, just keep it simple. It don't have to be no grand, big old scheme. You ain't gotta double, you know, your annual salary for next year. You don't have to, you know, like really, really get to the bag. You know, you don't got to make 30, 40,000 more, 20,000, 10,000 more. You could just make $1,000 more than you did last year. Do something consistent that brings in $1,000 more than you had last year. That builds consistency. That builds confidence, you know? So when you look back, you're like, yeah, these goals and resolutions that I set every year, you know, it's obtainable. I can do it. And make sure that you keep it simple. Again, make it consistent. And most importantly, rooted in the belief you're doing it to stay in the grace and favor of God. Till next time, Brooklyn Finest Entrepreneurs Podcast.
For your dead friends, hey, look, I got dead presidents, hey, look, for your dead friends, hey, look, I got dead presidents, hey.
Till next time, change your mindset, change your reality. Brooklyn Finest Entrepreneurs.
Blue honey, blue honey, blue honey, blue honey, blue honey.